This morning, a tragic skydiving accident in WA's Midwest. Tens of thousands rally across Australia demanding action to end violence against women. Free to travel, Australians can now cross all interstate borders for the first time since coronavirus struck. And the Grammys underway, Beyoncé and Taylor Swift predicted to shine.
This is 7 Morning News, live from Perth with Tina Altieri.
Good morning. A 30-year-old skydiver has died after his parachute failed to open during a jump north of Perth. The man was taking part in a skydiving competition in Jurien Bay in the wingsuit category. Police say his parachute failed to deploy properly despite desperate first aid efforts from locals and other competitors. He died at the scene. Police and the Australian Parachute Federation will now investigate. Alleged rape victim Brittany Higgins has addressed a mass protest outside Parliament House demanding an end to violence against women. The rally is one of more than 40 right across the country, with thousands of people joining calls for action. Our political reporter Olivia Leeming has more from Canberra.
It's the first time Brittany Higgins has spoken publicly after her media interview alleging she was raped by a Liberal Party staffer at Parliament House. She's joined thousands of women outside Parliament. The protest triggered by criticism of the government's handling of her allegations, as well as separate rape claims against Attorney General Christian Porter. Protesters are calling for a code of conduct and annual sexual harassment training for all MPs. The Prime Minister didn't attend the rally and organisers rejected his offer of a private meeting. Brittany Higgins says she hopes her experience can lead to reform.
I was raped inside Parliament House by a colleague, and for so long it felt like the people around me only cared because of where it happened and what it might mean for them. I came forward with my story to hopefully protect other women.
It's not only the coalition that's faced serious allegations. Opposition leader Anthony Albanese has been asked about new claims involving the Labor Party, with Labor staff members detailing allegations of sexual assault in a private Facebook group. Mr Albanese's described the claims as concerning, conceding he was aware of a sexual harassment allegation made last year by a woman who wanted her privacy protected. He insists the party's response was adequate.
She certainly was satisfied with the way that it was dealt with. It was dealt with very directly.
He wouldn't say if any Labor MPs accused should stand aside. That's despite calling for the Attorney General to face an independent inquiry over rape allegations. Christian Porter now launching defamation action against the ABC, determined to clear his name.
The fallout from our extraordinary state election is being felt coast to coast this morning. Labor decimated the Liberal Party, but several key seats are on the knife's edge. Labor is leading in the once safe Liberal seats of Careen and Churchlands. The likely makeup of the new parliament will see Labor with 53 seats, the Liberals with 2 and the Nationals 4. The Liberal and National parties are waiting until the official count is over before deciding how the state's opposition will operate and just who will lead it. The Prime Minister is confident the WA wipeout will not affect the federal election. The WA border to both New South Wales and Queensland remains open this morning despite 2 positive COVID cases at the weekend. A man working in 2 quarantine hotels in Sydney tested positive. So did a doctor working in a Brisbane hospital. Health authorities are contact tracing right now anybody in WA who visited venues at the same time as each positive case has been told to self-isolate and get tested. WA's Chief Health Officer is monitoring the situation but says any risk to WA remains very low. Travellers from Victoria are now allowed to enter WA without having to self-quarantine. Meanwhile, an urgent investigation continues in Brisbane after confirmation this morning that the UK variant of the COVID-19 virus spread from one hotel quarantine guest to another.
Genomic sequencing has confirmed the highly contagious UK variant of the virus has spread on floor 1 of the Hotel Grand Chancellor. One of the 2 infected travellers is believed to have infected a doctor at the Princess Alexandra Hospital. Health authorities are still trying to figure out how the transmission occurred in the hotel. Authorities will be trawling through CCTV footage and interviewing staff. Another concern is that 106 travellers who stayed at the hotel have since been released, and there is the potential that some of them may have been infectious. So anyone who stayed at the hotel between the 5th and the 9th of March has been asked to get a test and isolate. The hotel remains in lockdown, so it won't be accepting any new arrivals or releasing anyone in quarantine, at least for the next 48 hours. More than 270 contacts have been traced to the doctor in the community, and more than 160 have also been identified at the Princess Alexandra Hospital. And of those staff and patients, more than 80 have so far returned negative results. But authorities say it'll be at least another 24 hours before they can know if there's been any community transmission linked to the doctor.
And Victoria is weighing up whether to instigate new restrictions after its latest COVID cases. Meanwhile, the state government is under pressure to increase crowd sizes at Melbourne stadiums before the AFL season opener this Thursday. Nick McCallum has more.
With the AFL season opener just 3 days away, pressure is mounting to increase the size of the crowd at the MCG. At Melbourne Airport for the renewal of Virgin's AFL contract, the captains for Thursday's traditional season opener between Richmond and Carlton are thrilled at the prospect of a bumper crowd.
As long as there's safety measures in place and everyone feels safe to attend and support and cheer loud like they normally do, I think the more the merrier. A new year brings new optimism, and the crowds on top of that is just another reason to get excited.
Last year's opening game was played in an empty MCG. At this stage, Thursday's game will have 50% capacity, so a crowd of 50,000. Victoria has had 17 days straight of no community transmission. So Hawthorn President and former Premier Jeff Kennett now wants an increase on Thursday to a 100,000 crowd. Business groups have called for 75,000.
The best advice at 11 this morning is we'll stay at 50%, and with pretty strong optimism will improve for rounds 2 and 3, but I'll know more at lunchtime.
The final call comes down to the state government. It says it's acting on health advice, and at this stage it will not change. The game will have a 50% capacity.
Australia's share market is expected to rise today following a strong lead at the end of last week from Wall Street. For more, here's Network Finance Editor Gemma Acton.
The market did rise briefly, but has sunk back down into the red, weighed down by technology shares, which have been struggling for the past month. Afterpay has lost around 4% so far today, while Fortescue Metals is down by around the same, following a pledge from founder Twiggy Forrest that the mining giant will aim to be carbon neutral by 2030, 2 decades earlier than major rivals Rio Tinto and BHP. Today's market falls come despite reassurance from Reserve Bank Governor Philip Lowe that although the economic recovery has been swifter and stronger than anticipated, a near-term interest rate hike is not on the horizon. Once again, Governor Lowe has pointed to a too-high jobless rate and too weak wages growth as signs the economy still has a long way to go. Meantime, the Aussie dollar is bumping along at around 77.6 US cents.
A woman has been stabbed in the stomach during a robbery in Western Sydney. The 48-year-old was walking in Mount Druitt last night when a man tried to steal her bag. When she resisted, he stabbed her. The victim was taken to hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. Victorian Premier Daniel Andrews has been discharged from hospital after being treated for that nasty fall. The Premier broke a number of ribs and injured his spine when he slipped on wet steps last week. Doctors say Mr Andrews will continue his recovery at home, and there's a good chance he may not need surgery. On the weekend, the Premier released a photo of himself in a back brace. Well, music's Night of Nights is underway in LA. US correspondent David Woywood joins us. And David, who are the winners? Who are the losers?
Good morning, Tina. Well, yes, this evening has really belonged in so many ways to music superstar Beyonce. She has, in just the past few moments, taken home her 28th career Grammy. Now, that makes her the most awarded artist in Grammy history, be it male or female, sitting on 28 statuettes in a long and decorated career. Also, a proud mum, her daughter Blue Ivy, taking home a Grammy earlier in the day. Now, organisers of tonight's show going to great lengths to make this look and feel like a normal awards show. A huge lineup of live performances. In the past few minutes as well, Taylor Swift has just taken home Album of the Year for Folklore, while host Trevor Noah introducing the new look ceremony mid-pandemic.
Tonight, we're hoping that this is all about what 2021 can be, full of joy, new beginnings, and coming together. Never forgetting what happened in 2020, but full of hope for what is to come.
Now, it's all just wrapping up at the moment, but tonight's show not without some controversy. Canadian pop star The Weeknd boycotting tonight's show, raising some very serious concerns over the integrity of that nomination and voting process.
David, thank you very much. Appreciate your time. You are watching 7's Morning News live from Perth. Coming up, Meghan hits back over bullying claims as the palace launches an independent investigation. And hundreds protest against police in London who moved mourners away from a vigil for a murder victim.
This was a public execution. A single bullet fired from 300 metres away.
There is a theory there might be some police involvement in the execution.
Nothing's off the table.
Mikey Wars.
How hard is it to make a 300-metre kill shot?
Flashpoint, tonight on 7.
Welcome back. Well, there's apparently more ill feeling between Harry and Meghan and Buckingham Palace this morning, with an external law firm hired to investigate bullying claims against the Duchess of Sussex. Meghan says she wants to see proof to back up the allegations against her. Amy Parks has more.
Yes, in a clear indication that the Duchess of Sussex intends to fight back, her office has written to Buckingham Palace to formally request any documents, including emails and phone messages, pertaining to those bullying claims. Now, those claims made by a senior palace aide suggest that Meghan behaved unacceptably towards two staffers and undermined the confidence of a third. Now, while the Sussexes have not been requested to partake formally in that independent inquiry, this certainly looks as though they are preparing to launch their own, and we can only imagine what that will do for the tension between Meghan and Harry and the rest of the royal family. It's understood Harry may have spoken to his grandmother, the Queen, in the week since that controversial Oprah interview went to air. However, Prince William said last week he was yet to speak to his brother, but that he intended to. And it is reported that the brothers remain committed to coming together in July for the unveiling of a statue in their late mother's honour.
One of the ex-wives of Attorney General Christian Porter was among thousands of West Australians who packed Perth's CBD yesterday for a March for Justice rally. Women, men, children demanded action on violence against women following the sexual assault scandals at Parliament House.
We are women. Hear us roar in numbers too big to ignore.
Protesters are demanding an inquiry into the historic rape allegations against Attorney General Christian Porter. Hundreds of people have marched through central London in protest over the police handling of a vigil for murder victim Sarah Everard. The protesters gathered outside Scotland Yard to voice their anger over police moving in to disperse mourners who'd come to pay their respects. Several women were arrested.
Officers on the ground were faced with a very difficult decision. Hundreds of people were tightly packed together, posing a very real risk of easily transmitting COVID-19.
33-year-old Sarah Everard disappeared while walking home in central London. A police officer has been charged with her murder. Authorities have opened fire on anti-coup protesters in Myanmar. Another 5 people were killed following the deaths of 12 protesters yesterday. Demonstrations have been held almost every day since February 1st, when the military seized control and detained leader Aung San Suu Kyi. The military's continued use of force has prompted international condemnation. A storm system that unleashed a series of devastating tornadoes in Texas has now moved into America's western plains and Rocky Mountain states. More than 7 million people are under winter weather alerts, with blizzard conditions expected for the next 3 days. Forecasters are warning of whiteout conditions, power outages and avalanches. And drone video is now shedding new light on the habits of fin whales off the coast of Spain. The giant creatures return to the same spot year after year to feed on krill. Fin whales can reach more than 23 metres in length. To stay with us, the day's sport is coming up next. And the AFL set to make a call on major new rule changes. An Aussie wins the MOGUL Skiing World Cup title. A major blow to West Coast's midfield, with Luke Shuey ruled out of the Eagles' round 1 clash against the Gold Coast. The skipper has a low-grade hamstring injury suffered during training on Friday. He's expected to miss 2 to 3 weeks. It's the skipper's 6th soft tissue injury in the past 8 months. Dockers midfielder Darcy Tucker is also set to be sidelined for round 1 after injuring his hamstring during a scratch match for Peel. The AFL will announce this afternoon whether or not they'll introduce a concussion sub for the upcoming season. Coaches only discussed the option in the past week, with the final call to be made from the league's football boss, Steve Hocking.
We've shown we can be agile and flexible, and he's having a discussion about that, and if it makes sense, he'll do it.
There's some depth to how it would work and play out, but it's important that, one, we protect the players.
Meanwhile, Saints forward Max King has been ruled out of their season opener with concussion after being struck by a golf ball. Western United is back in form after beating Brisbane Roar 1-0. Former Italian international Alessandro Diamanti showed his class, setting up the only goal of the clash. United coach Mark Rudden overshadowed the win, getting into a heated stoush with the 4th official.
Trying to turn around, so I question you, tell me to shut up. And I'll be saying it, yep, for the microphone to hear.
He was given a yellow card as United moved up to 8th on the ladder, behind the Roar in 7th. Well, there was nothing regular about the opening goal in the North London derby.
Crowd of legs and in, and Tottenham against the run of play, strike first.
Eric Yamala's goal gave Tottenham the lead, but the Argentinian was later sent off as Arsenal came from behind to win 2-1. Manchester United boosted their top 4 hopes, beating West Ham 1-0. And Matilda's captain Sam Kerr put on a show in the Women's League Cup final, netting a hat-trick in Chelsea's 6-0 win over Bristol City. The Perth Wildcats have won the NBL Cup after pulling off the season's biggest comeback against the Adelaide 36ers. Trailing by as much as 26 points in the first half, the reigning champions turned it around after the break.
Perth have got 19 unanswered points and they're back to within 4.
Perth outscored Adelaide by 30 points in the second half in the 97-88 win. Well, after the final World Cup round was called off due to bad weather, Matt Graham won the MOGUL Skiing Crystal Globe for finishing the season on top of the standings.
I'm very, very excited and very happy to have earned this. You know, it's one of those things I've always wanted.
He's the first Australian since Dale Begg-Smith in 2010 to win. Well, we are looking at a warm week in Perth weather-wise. I'll have your weather details next.
It was the Wild West.
Police think Lisa Govan is dead.
It's a serious crime homicide.
We've never seen this before.
Do you know how Lisa Govan died?
Yes, I do.
Checking the weather details for you now, and currently in our city it's 27 degrees. Taking a look at the suburbs today, partly cloudy, a top of 31 degrees for Joondalup, Scarborough, Fremantle and Rockingham. 30 degrees for Kalamunda and Swanbourne, with a windy 29 degrees expected for Armidale. Over to Rottnest, partly cloudy and 29 degrees there. For the rest of the week, let's take a look at this. Partly cloudy, 34 degrees tomorrow. Sunny, 31 degrees on Wednesday, 32 expected on Thursday, and heating up to about 36 degrees on Friday and Saturday. Thank you for watching 7's Morning News this Monday. Join us for our next bulletins at 4 and 6 o'clock. I'm Tina Altieri. Have a great afternoon.